some of the favorite plants in my house are actually my vining plants, and I don't think that I show them very often in videos, or maybe I used to more in the past, but I thought that this week I would just kind of go over how they're doing, what I've got, what my plans are for them, and some of the things that I did with them in this last year. The neon pothos is definitely one of my favorite plants. I've had it now, this spring it might be a year. I did get it from, I want to say Lowe's. I showed it in a video when I was shopping at Lowe's, and I think I actually went back and got it after. And one of the things I love about this neon pothos is it's got kind of like this different variegation that you see that still shows up on some leaves, some darker green, and sometimes what just looks like some lighter variegation here and there throughout the plant. But it's a gorgeous plant. It's a huge eye catcher. And as far as the vining plants go, I'll show you where it lives in a minute. It stands out. I also got this. What is this? Is this a Monstera Peru? It was one cutting that I bought of it, and it was more expensive than I wanted it to be, but my hope is for this plant this spring to go ahead and actually take some cuttings and fill the plant out a little bit. Now, I actually have already done this with my satin pothos here, but you can also see my heartleaf philodendrons right there. It's been growing. Probably needs to be repotted this year. But I want to say at the end of the growing season, I did a test propagation on the satin pothos and actually filled in the pot. When I originally got that plant, it was probably, I want to say like 4 or 5 cuttings. It wasn't much. It was a really sparse plant. And I didn't have it in the ideal location at first, so it was slow to grow. Now, this is a Marble Queen Pothos I think I got here. I showed that on the channel when I bought it. It's mixed with a Jade Pothos, so both are inside of this pot. And I'm probably going to propagate the Jade part of the plant this spring. I've let the Jade vine really grow. My Philodendron Brazil has actually been doing pretty good. I gave it quite a trim because it was just growing the kind of lime-colored leaves for a while. And so I cut the plant back, and now it's growing leaves that are more variegated. So you're seeing dark green and lime green. And of course, sometimes these leaves that are half and half, which are absolutely beautiful. So fun. It is such a fun plant. One of my favorites. And it lives on, I'll show you in a minute. It lives on a pole in my house, and it lives with this micans vine. Now, I am going to be watering this today. I was watering all of these plants, so that's why I've got them all out. I pulled them from where they were, and I was getting them ready. And this is a Marble Queen Pothos I have had, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years. It started growing, though. Look at this variegation here that looks more like a snow queen sometimes. All at once, it started growing pockets of what were white leaves with some green. I love it. Definitely don't hate it. And so even though I've had the plant for a number of years, what it looks like has changed substantially. It's gotten longer. I've propagated it. I've cut its vines back numerous times. As you can see, some of these vines have gotten really long. I like that look. It's one of my favorites. It's one of those kind of things about just having very lush plants in the house that make me really happy. Again, I'll show you where they live. Some live on a bookcase so they can really trail down. Some are on a post that they can trail down. But again, it's watering day, so I was getting everybody ready. And after I shot that first little bit of footage, I brought over my philodendron. I still don't know. Micans vine. Here is another one of my trailing or vining plants that's a little bit unusual. I don't actually know the name of it. When I bought it, it said it was an unknown species. And I have to say that it was really slow growing. It needed a lot more light than I thought. And so it's in an eastern window. And it's not actually like hanging. And so I think that it's growing a little bit weird. It looks a little bit wiry. It's a little bit leggy, even though it's in an eastern window. So I'm going to be moving that to an area where it's actually going to trail a little bit and wait to see what happens. It's grown about 4 new separate sort of strands. So this is my strawberry begonia, not a begonia, of course. When I bought it, all of the runners had fallen off. It was in the mail way too long. It was summer, and they had just like fried up. And so now it's really trailing. It's grown a lot more of these runners, which are beautiful. But again, this is another plant that's not hanging. So I'm going to do something with it this spring. I'm going to move it. It's going to get more light. It's going to hang a little bit more, and I hope get more impressive. Now here is what my satin pothos was looking like. And like I said, I did this test propagation late in the growing season last year. I don't think I ever put this footage up, so I thought I would share it with you today. I decided where I just pointed, I was going to fill the plant in. And so you can see here, this is what the roots looked like. And I want to say that this probably took maybe a month for the roots to get to this point after propagating it in water. I made a little hole with, this is just a chopstick that I had. And I went ahead and just potted it up. The cutting took really well. The plant looked more and more filled out. It's grown quite a bit since then. And I was really happy with it. And so I think I'm probably going to do the same thing this summer on a larger scale and fill the plant out. I also, this is my micans vine, whatever. And I did actually also take cuttings at the end of the growing season. However, what I've noticed is for me, this plant takes longer to develop a root system. And so I haven't potted that up yet. I also wanted to show you, I took you plant shopping with me. I saw those pots suspended on the post, and that's what I did as I came home. And I decided to put plants like that micans or micans vine onto these kind of just these clips that hold or suspend the pots. It looks like just like in midair. And so this is where the Brazil, the satin pothos, that philodendron, and then my other heartleaf philodendron live. And they were all pretty happy here. They've all grown since then. Here's the rooted propagations from that philodendron. And I think I will, maybe right before spring, I'm going to combine all of these into one pot. I did take a few more cuttings than I did of, say, the satin pothos. Like I just tried one there. I also, sometimes this came off my marble queen. You know, sometimes I accidentally, when I'm taking them from where I usually keep them and watering them, because I do water these in the sink, the kitchen sink, I just accidentally snapped it off. And so I decided to root it in water. And just like with that satin pothos, I'll just poke a hole into the soil and I will reintegrate it with the plant that it originally came from. Now this was a propagation that I did. I'll show you what it looked like originally in a minute, but when I first did this, it was with actually my golden pothos, which I no longer have, and my marble queen. So the golden pothos got caught up with some spider mites, unfortunately. If you know my house, a lot of calathea, a lot of spider mites, and it took over. So I did still have part of that plant because I had propagated the golden pothos. So that is nice. So I still have some of that plant, and I do have this propagated marble queen mixed in. And so these are kind of the propagations that I was working on this last year. And I just thought I'd share those with you really quickly. Can't wait to pot up the rooted cuttings. And I can't wait to see, this is finally, I think, the pothos going to start, I'm hoping, trailing. And I also want to work on propagating some of the runners on the strawberry begonia, but I'm going to have to play with that a little bit. So this is where my other hanging plants live, is on top of a pretty tall bookcase. They do tend to like it up here. And this is what, when I originally propagated my golden pothos and my marble queen hybrid, this is what it looked like after the first few months. It was seeing some new growth. It's definitely bigger now. I'm hoping it's starting to trail. I wasn't sure if I had put enough cuttings in to really fill out what I wanted to, but now I can see it's actually going to be a really full, beautiful plant. So I'm happy with that, and I might go ahead and try and do that with my neon pothos, and maybe I'll also try to do that with, like I said, taking a jade clipping out of the hybrid jade and marble queen pothos. But I thought I'd share my vining plants with you. If you have any tips, any thoughts, tell me what your favorite vining plants are. I'd love to hear it in the comments. And until next time, be well and take care.